Mark Milton here with Gary Saperstein. He has tonight been in charge of the activities for the Food for Thought charity events that are going on countywide. 82 restaurants.
Yes, 82 restaurants participating
in this. And as I was writing down these questions, Gary, I was thinking of perceptions, because perceptions are what govern how things are treated, especially in our society, and in any society, but especially in this one. And some of the misperceptions, are what are really fueling me, now with all the stuff that we're seeing, whether it's in Ferguson or whatever. Perceptions. When I was in 7th grade, like I was just saying, my friend and I said that we were going to do our report on AIDS. And my class looked at me like I was nuts. At that time, we had a president who insisted that AIDS not be used in his White House, the word AIDS not be used in his White House. 4 years later, we had Axl Rose say some inflammatory lyrics in the song. You come here and spread some, and it was like we all attacked him for that. And it's like, no, this is what I hear from my friends. AIDS in 2014. Where does it stand? Because it's a complicated issue, but generally, and not that you're some expert, but generally, where does it stand?
Well, we've come a long way.
Sure.
Fortunately, I mean, and we were just talking about this on the radio show, but we've definitely come a long way. In the early 80s, I mean, HIV/AIDS was a hideous disease. It was just killing people like that.
Sure. I mean, no, it still is, but
I mean, it is. But I mean, there's medications. There's pills you can take. There are defenses, things you can do aside from wearing condoms that you can do that are supposed to help prevent HIV/AIDS. So there's definitely a lot more out there. And yes, people are not dying as much as they used to, but as we just heard from one of my guests, Gary, on the show tonight, that a colleague of his just passed away of AIDS. So people are still dying of AIDS. Fortunately, not like they were. Very fortunately. So we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go. And I mean, I'm so hopeful that I keep on thinking that goal of ending AIDS and there being some vaccine or something that's going to be in the next decade. It just feels like it's going to happen with all the research that's going on.
What are the numbers on fatalities, on deaths? As a percentage of the population have deaths decreased? And so is it like 4%, half, 60%?
I don't really have that information. I don't really have the statistics, but definitely from where it was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, to where it is today, it's a lot less.
20 years ago, Magic Johnson came out and said that he was HIV positive, and that was kind of a land shift. That was a landmark event as far as getting the word out of acceptability of like, hey, this can happen to anyone. Now we see him, he's the face of the Dodgers. He's not emaciated, he doesn't have the spots on his face, and it's almost as if people say readily, oh, isn't he HIV negative? Is he cured?
Right.
How is that almost a drag on getting people to see things the proper way? How has it almost hurt our progress in coping or living with HIV as a society?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's hurt it. I just don't think that, and for whatever reason, Magic Johnson, I don't think he's helped it a lot because he doesn't really talk about it very often. In fact, I can't remember last time he really even talked about it, or and I could be wrong. I don't follow him that much, but I can't remember the last time I remember seeing Magic Johnson at an event talking about HIV.
You're actually right on that.
And he could be a face
for
HIV/AIDS. But I think he's just chosen, for whatever reason, he's chosen not to go in that direction.
Like a lot of folks do for a lot of different reasons.
Exactly.
Michael Jordan and his giving back to the ghetto, whatever. People don't have to do it, but yeah, Magic's got his reasons. Ebola. People go to Africa to treat people with Ebola, and they come back, and sometimes they're infected. And Ebola, funny enough, is similar to HIV in the way it can be trampled. Yet it didn't even have, a decimal of the stigma or the whatever. Can you imagine a woman in 1985 coming back from Africa and she's HIV positive, and she tells her town in Maine, I'm not going to be quarantined?
Yes.
What's up with that?
Because it's happening to. It's not happening to minorities. Well, in this country, it's not. In Africa, but here it's not. So at the beginning, come on, I remember going back to the beginning of the AIDS crisis, and it was really the thought that was out there. It's like, well, who cares? It's gay people.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Gays and blacks.
And so that's not the issue with Ebola to a certain degree. Here in this country,
sure.
I should say here in this country
sure.
is what I'm talking about. And the fact that 3 people in this country have died of Ebola, and it was made, or I should say, the Republicans made such a case out of it, almost blaming the president for not doing anything. When it's like 3 people, he is doing something about it, more so than Ronald Reagan did, like you said at the beginning of your show, couldn't even say the word for the first 4 years of his presidency at all. The fact that the Republicans have turned it around and used it against the Democrats and Obama in the last mid-election amazes me.
Oh, okay.
It just
and I think it speaks to the relevance of perceptions.
Yeah.
Because people are going to believe what they're told.
Absolutely. And now with media that's 24/7 now.
Sure.
So they need to fill up their news.
And what's on now? People are lining the streets because a white cop killed a black man.
And it's just they're on 24/7. They have to fill up their news stories. And so CNN, for say, just for an example, is they do the story, and they have to take that story and take this to the nth degree.
If Comedy Central Signal is out tonight, I think I'll watch Fox's coverage of.
Yeah, there you go. Fox. That always makes me actually crack.
Let me just. Let's. How is it? We were just talking about Magic Johnson, HIV positive, but he was allowed to play in the and there was nobody gay basketball player who played at Stanford, and the first night that he was supposed to come back, a woman from ESPN asked Doc Rivers, coach of the Clippers, what Jason Collins brings to a lineup. And his first word was toughness, and it's like, I'm like, well, that breaks the stereotype. How is it that an HIV positive superstar was accepted long before an HIV negative gay athlete was? Good question. Good. No. And you know what? If there's no answer, then that's the answer.
Exactly. It's a good question. Why?
Yeah. Maybe we'll be back here in 20 years and we can figure out why.
Maybe one day we'll know the answer, yes.
Last question. Where do we go from here? What are the future of events like this and the future of organizations like Food for Thought? What are the greatest points what are the greatest rays of light? And what are the most shadowy recesses of fear?
Well, I think in going that way, first think about you just said the shadowy recess of fear, I think is the aspect of that things could get worse, or something else comes up.
Sure.
It could be, is there going to be another disease that's going to come up? Or
a contagious version of AIDS?
Right, or are we going to take a step backwards in HIV/AIDS as well? Because there's a generation out there like we were talking about on the radio shows, now there's a generation of youth out there that they're not aware of what happened. They need to be aware. They need to be educated in what happened so that it doesn't repeat itself. There's no history repeats itself. That's a given fact. So that's the negative thing that I'm fearful of that could happen. On the positive side, things are moving in such a great direction right now. There really are. So many advances are being made, not only just for equality, but also in the research of HIV/AIDS. So much advances are happening that are great, and that's why I said earlier, where I feel and I hope that sometime in the next decade is going to be that vaccine for HIV/AIDS. It's going to be exactly the I'm not saying that I know that for sure, but it just I read so much about it, and reading about it just makes me think that there's things out there that are happening, and so I am hopeful that somewhere within a decade we're going to get to that point.
All right, so I lied. I said last question. One of the things that is stuck in my mind most about the HIV virus is the fact that you can't kill something that's not necessarily alive. What if it's not a medical breakthrough that gives us that out? What if it's something that we have to do? Are you confident that we as people can do it? Because while it's moved fast, it's moved almost so fast that the new kids have no idea.
I will always be a hopeful person, so I will always hope that yes, there's going to be hope.
Sure.
And that, I think there's a lot of effort right now that's going into educating young people so that those mistakes aren't made again. So I'm hopeful that that's what's going to really be the outcome. It's going to be hope.
Gary Saperstein, I want to thank you very much, man.
Thank you.
Great talking to you. Thanks for your involvement in this.
Oh, pleasure.
Hey, we've got Million here in Sonoma with Gary Saperstein, and I want to thank you very much, man, all right?
Pleasure.